What's up, Wargamers? We're back with Budget Wargamer and another edition. So this time we want to talk about the T'au Sept Tenets. And ask yourself, what T'au Sept Tenet seems right for you? And of course you'll know quite a bit more after Saturday rolls around if you've got your hands on a pre-order of the Tau Empire Codex, or whether you're going to pick one up at your friendly local gaming store, your FLGS, and get that way. Now, there's been a lot of information officially leaked about the Tau over the last month, so we know that it comes from credible sources, and we want to take a little bit of a look at this heading into the weekend to see what kind of strategies you're looking forward to build out your Tau army, and which ones also might suit models that you may or may not already have. So, myself, I've been collecting Tau for since day one, probably literally the first day they came out. Sold off my original army because I didn't play it for a couple of editions, and I started collecting them again right around the time that the Start Collecting Tau box came out. Actually, I think I started collecting them slowly and surely on eBay, buying up bits and whatnot through one of my favorite bits vendors on eBay. But then the Start Collecting box came out, and that was a must-have. Not just for the fact that I like Tau and I like their models and that had the newer models in it, but also because for $85, you're not getting a better value in 40K when it comes to Start Collecting box set. Just way too much possibilities in there with your HQ choices, your elites, your troops, your fast attack. Just a really flexible kit that comes with like 23 or 24 models. It's ridiculous. So let's take a look here. We'll dive into the T'au Sept Tenets here in just a second, but just in case you're unfamiliar, that's pretty much the only Tau release coming out this week is going to be the data cards and then the special editions of the Tau Codex. If you want to head over, there are some existing Tau models. I don't think I've seen any leaks of any brand new ones coming out, although that would always be welcomed. But you can still pick up this Start Collecting Tau Empire set, of which I did a video on a long time ago after I had assembled mine. But in here, you'll get an ethereal or ethereal, depending on how you guys want to pronounce it. Then you'll get 10 that you could either form a Fire Warrior Strike Squad or a Breacher Squad. And then you're going to get 3 of the Crisis Suits. So for $10 more than just buying the 3-pack of Crisis Suits, which would normally be $75, you're going to get all the rest of this. And what I typically do is then I'll use a couple drones here and there, but I'll usually take the drones. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, if I count it correctly. And that could actually form up a full fast attack unit right out of the box. Some hard hitting. You can have some dual pulse carbine drones there as a quick moving jump unit. So that's something to consider. So let's take a look at the T'au Septs. 4 of them I've been able to find the rules on so far. I don't know if that's all that's going to be included in the Tau Codex. It could be, but I highly doubt it. And then there will be some specific stratagems that can be used by forces that have formed up under those specific tenets. So the first and foremost is the T'au Sept. So these guys are your standard ones, your tan, your brown, all your ochre colored ones. And here's what their T'au Sept tenet is. We've got coordinated fire arcs. And when a unit with this tenet uses their For the Greater Good ability, or when they fire Overwatch while they are within 6 inches of a friendly T'au Sept unit, a 5 or 6 is required for a successful hit roll, irrespective of the firing model's ballistic skill or any modifier. So right off the bat, just being able to fire Overwatch for a friendly model, you're going to be able to basically hit twice as often. Now this can also be combined with some other special abilities that may let you reroll 1s, so that would potentially really up your Overwatch ability. And that could be really strong because this is not dependent upon what type of weapons they use. So this would also tie into things like your missile pod turrets and things like that as well. And it's also not specifically for Fire Warriors or troop choices. So if you think about this could also potentially be applicable to Hammerheads and Devilfish, things like that, Crisis Suits, as long as those units have the Sept ability. So that also allows you to combine these with a couple different of the command stratagems here. So for one command point, you could use breach and clear that's specifically for a breacher team, so only applicable if you're going to be using breachers, but this is building a case for why you would want to use breachers. And then the one I really like, although it's 3 command points, is focused fire, and this is something you might use if your opponent's bringing something really big and ballsy to the table, taking down your opponent's Necron monolith. I mean, I'm sure we'll see quite a bit of Necrons with their upcoming Codex release next week and some new models for those guys. But focused fire allows you to use that stratagem after a T'au Sept unit from your army inflicts an unsaved wound on an enemy unit in the shooting phase. So then you can add 1 to wound rolls for any other T'au Sept unit from your army that shoots at the same enemy unit this phase. So let's take a look at that as a quick tactic. What you could do is you can take like a hammerhead with a railgun, shoot your opponent's monolith, hopefully put an unsaved wound through onto that monolith, and then you could use this stratagem on that monolith and then start firing at the monolith with all of your strength 5 T'au fire warriors with your pulse rifles. And then now strength 5 up against the monolith normally probably would need 6s to wound it. Now you're going to be able to wound it on 5, so doubling your effectiveness at being able to put the hurt down on heavy toughness models. So not just effective on monoliths, but many others. So that's essentially what the T'au Sept would get for you. You're going to basically become way more defensive on your firing ability when using your For the Greater Good, and also give you access to some of the command stratagems, which I hope there's going to be more specific to the Sept Tenet, but that's at least a good start off. Then we have the Daleth, and these guys are your stealth. These guys are your red, white, and gray. It was a very popular color scheme during 7th edition Tau. And what their special tenet allows you to do is that a unit with this tenet that does not manta strike, move, fall back, charge, pile in, or consolidate in this turn may claim the benefit of cover in the opponent's subsequent turn, even while in the open. So this is really awesome because it's going to give you the defensive benefits of having cover just for standing still. But I also have to wonder, a lot of these stealth units have really short range anyways and assault weapons to boot. So are they really going to stand still? This could benefit a Fire Warrior gun line from the standpoint of basically you're going to be able to stand out in the open and get the benefits of cover, bumping your armor save effectively up to a 3+ on a Tau Fire Warrior. Same with Breachers and also potentially Pathfinders. But I think this is somewhat going to be situational. Plus, you get the benefits of cover, but it doesn't necessarily say that you are counted as being in cover, so there's going to need to be some rules clarifications there, because there are some specific rules when assaulting people and things like that take place when your opponent actually is in cover, and this gives you the benefit. You can claim the benefit of cover, but it doesn't necessarily state whether you're actually in cover, so might need a little bit of clarification. I think I would err on the side of saying that if you're claiming the benefit, then you would count as being in cover. I don't know how you guys would rule that out or rule that in your own home games. So here's another stratagem. This is specific to... Actually, this actually doesn't appear to be specific. I thought this was specific to the Dal'yth, but it's not. It's actually specific to Ghost Kill battlesuits. So for 1 command point, you can use the stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Your stealth suit unit from your army that's within 6 inches of your Ghost Kill, so you'd have to pick 2 elite units, all with the stealth ability. You may immediately remove the stealth battlesuit unit from there and set it up again anywhere within 12 inches of the Ghost Kill, but more than 9 inches from the enemy. So it doesn't count as falling back and yada yada yada. Very situational, but I think what it could help you do is it could help you kind of bound your stealth suits forward to get them into the burst cannon and the fusion gun range, and then use this to pull them back and or reposition them side to side. So you could potentially grab them from the left flank, move them to the right flank. You can grab them from up to 6 inches in the front, move them to up to 12 inches back. But then again, it says, use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Pick a stealth unit from your army that's within 6 inches of the Ghost Kill. You may immediately remove them and place them anywhere within 12 inches. I think I've heard a lot of other people really claim this to be a defensive one, to where you'd be moving your stealth battlesuits backwards. But what I just kind of thought of was that this could actually be used to catapult your stealth battlesuits forward using your Ghost Kill to get them into a firing position really quick, because now you've added a threat range, Plus, it says that it does not count as falling back. So it's presumable that it might count the stealth suit unit as moving. I don't think I read that anywhere in this rules of whether it does that, but kind of by default, it makes it seem like they would move, even though it's possibly a teleportation trick of the ghost keel, not actual movement. So another thing that could require a little bit of clarification, because if you use the stratagem, pick the unit, do you then get to move the unit after you've used the stratagem? Because that would add a lot to the threat range, especially on the fusion gun for those stealth suits. And more reason to pick up maxed out size squads of stealth suits if that's the case, because then your ghost keel can catapult them forward. And then for that same command point, the following turn can catapult them left, right, or to the rear, or whatever your case may be. So that does have a lot of tactical flexibility. Not enough in and of itself to make somebody like me want to really go into the stealth world of it. But I do like the ghost keel models. I do like the stealth suit models. And I do like that tactic. I just think that it's almost not enough to get me to play it, especially if this stratagem is accessible to other T'au Septs within the Empire. Then I don't need to really worry about claiming this Sept Tenet just to get the ability to get cover in the open. My own personal opinion. So then we have the Vior'la, and this Sept is a little bit different. This Sept Tenet says that if a unit with this tenet advances, it treats all rapid-fire weapons it is armed with as assault weapons until the end of the turn. For example, a rapid-fire 1 weapon is treated as an assault 1 weapon, and in addition, models with this tenet do not suffer the penalty to their hit rolls for advancing and firing assault weapons. So this is good if you're carrying pulse carbines, because then you won't suffer the moving and shooting, or the advancing and shooting penalty for firing your assault weapons after advancing. And then also, it does allow you to advance with units that normally wouldn't be able to fire anything. So rather than just moving and then firing rapid fire, now you could move, advance, and then rapid fire, or fire those rapid fire weapons as if they're assault 1 or assault whatever units. This is pretty good, especially if you want to do a fast-moving list. So crisis suits in particular, you're really going to benefit from those. But there's also going to be other ways that you would be able to do it. Like how would you use this with Fire Warriors or Breachers or even Pathfinders to the advantage of those teams? So I'd like to see a little bit on that. I won't cover necessarily too much here. So this is use the stratagem at the start of the enemy shooting phase. Pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the commander. Your opponent must subtract 1 from the hit rolls made for that unit this phase. 2 command points. I don't think I'd play that too often. So that's quite situational. But that is a generic stratagem. So here's one that's specific to the Vior'la. This is hot-blooded, also for 2 command points. And if you use the stratagem at the start of your shooting phase, you pick one of your Vior'la Sept infantry, so it's specific to infantry, which is somewhat limiting. And this unit may be chosen to shoot twice this phase, but all models in the unit must target the closest enemy unit each time they do so. This could be strong, especially when you've got a unit of Fire Warriors that are buffed out by a Fireblade cadre, and some other things, like maybe you're using a special ability that's coming from your ethereal that's nearby, and then you want to use 2 command points in the Vior'la Sept to use hot-blooded as something that lets them pump off double the shots for the turn. That could be good at putting some, I don't want to say suppressing fire, but going from suppressing fire and actually becoming damaging fire to some of those. So this is something that's got some potential, because it also says that it doesn't have to be for a unit that has remained stationary or any of those other rules, so you could really move up there with the Sept Tenet to allow you to then fire as assault weapons and be able to use this to fire twice, which would make up for the deficiency of not being able to rapid fire those weapons. Now the last one that we've got is the one that I'm actually personally most excited about. I guess I saved it for last sort of unintentionally just to talk about it here towards the end of the video. But we'll wrap this up rather quick because we're reaching roughly the 15-minute mark on this video, and I appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. If you've listened this far into it, definitely hit the like button. You'll do me a favor and help me get out there through the Google algorithm to other people who want to hear people talk about Warhammer. You know, there's a lot of people out there doing it. I love doing it, and that's why I'm here. So this is the Bork'an Sept, Boar Caborca. This is the Swedish meatball team. And here what we've got is their superior craftsmanship, meaning that their weapons are just really well put together. So Bork'an, and I think you'll see this and possibly the T'au Sept as being the two most popular septs that end up hitting the battlefield, especially early on, until we find some more strategy combinations with the other septs that make them a little bit more appealing. But here's an automatic 6 inches added to the maximum range of any rapid fire and heavy weapon that you're armed with. This says models with this tenet. This isn't infantry with this tenet, so this is going to work on pretty much anything. It's gonna be everything except for Kroot and Vespid sting wings. So this is gonna work on your Tau sniper drones. This is gonna work on your regular drone units to increase them to a nice decent threat range of 24 inches. This is going to work on pathfinders. This is gonna work on fire warriors and breachers, crisis suits, hammerheads, devilfish. It's going to work on the big dudes. It's going to work on the ghost keel. It's going to work on your stealth teams, yada, yada, yada. List goes on. And I don't know too many people that couldn't benefit from a 6-inch boost to their maximum shooting range. This also, of note, also would add 3 inches to the rapid fire range of rapid fire weapons, which also is something that can help make a difference when you've ever been in a game and you've fallen about an inch or so short of being able to make that rapid fire shooting attack, and then but the next turn your opponent's able to move up and charge you, so you never really got to rapid fire them before they got there. This is important. So I do like that ability that's there. So this is the rules for the Riptide. We'll skip past that. I'm very excited about Riptides. They've always seemed a little top heavy to me as far as models go, making them a little bit precarious to break and fall over. But they're still awesome models. I think the Ghost Keel is my favorite, though, of all of the larger models, even though it's not the largest. So there's the Storm Surge. But let's see here. Here's the Branch Nova Charge. This is just a generic stratagem. So this is not specific to the Bork'an. And let's take a look here at experimental weaponry. So this is a Bork'an specific stratagem. So not only are you getting the 6-inch additional range to rapid fire and heavy, so that's going to also count towards turrets, anything that's got the missile systems. Basically, your fusion guns aren't going to benefit from it because those are assault weapons. Same thing with flamers, things like that. But it's still going to be not a situational buff, unlike things like the Dal'yth, which you have to remain stationary. This doesn't care whether you move or whether you stand stationary or what have you. So this experimental weaponry is a stratagem that says use this when a Bork'an Sept unit from your army fires a ranged weapon that makes a random number of attacks, such as D6, 2D6. You can re-roll one of the dice used to determine the number of attacks made. So if you're only rolling one dice, you can re-roll that. If you're rolling 2D6 or 3D6, you can re-roll one of those dice. You're not necessarily rolling an additional dice and picking the greater of. That would be slightly better, but you are getting a chance to re-roll. So if you roll a 1, that's a given, you're going to re-roll that one. So if you combine that with something like the overcharge ability here let's make sure we're looking at Tau Empire. So we've got D6 shots, standard and overcharge from the Ion Accelerator. That's something, if you ever happen to roll a really low number, then you would be able to re-roll that. So that's not bad. Plus, let's take a look here. So use this stratagem from your army, fires a ranged weapon that makes a random number of attacks. So I'm assuming you have to say that, declare this before you roll the attacks, but if you don't have to do it, then if you do the overcharge here, you'd be able to re-roll ones anyways. So then you would be able to re-roll those, use the stratagem, potentially roll again. It's kind of open, kind of a loophole, not looking to necessarily exploit it, but that's the T'au Septs in a nutshell. Hopefully there's going to be a couple more that they haven't talked about yet that'll be in the Codex and worth learning about come Saturday morning. Look forward to hear some comments from you guys. Stay tuned for some more videos. We are churning those out because it seems like Games Workshop is pumping out more and more videos as of late and more information for the community. So stay tuned to Budget Wargamer for more info.